All right, boxing fans, welcome back. Ruiz versus Ortiz. Let's go.
Luis King Kong Ortiz, the Destroyer, Andy Ruiz.
All right, so as we know, this is a eliminator. Somebody's going to go if they lose. Fight starts out in a normal process, normal feeling out, collecting data for what they're going to plan to do later on. And if you're not sure about the feel out process in boxing, is very vital. Without this is the equivalent. Without a feel out, it's like jumping in a pool without testing to make sure there's water in it. It is not necessary, but it helps a boxer determine several things. How is the opponent going to react, etc., etc. Anyway, as we moved on, I'm always looking for who's going to make the first attempted strike and effect. And as you see right there, Luis Ortiz connected with a straight left, boom, pushing Ruiz back. So he sets the pace. First strike, first hit. Another clean view. Bang. And Ruiz is forced backwards. But as you know, in the beginning rounds, everybody's fresh and full of energy. And Ruiz seems to have good hand speed, and he caught Mr. Ortiz slipping. Notice Ortiz brings that left hand back to the hip. Ruiz, with good timing and speed, delivers a package, disrupting his flow. And this is real early in the game. And I alluded to the chins of both of these guys in the last video, but right off the bat, Mr. Ortiz is showing that suspect chin once again. Now, I know they say that the last thing to go is your power, but is the first thing to go your chin? Not too sure, but Luis Ortiz was demonstrating some weak chin principles against Mr. Prince Charles Martin, and once again here. Anyway, he survives and gets up. But there was one particular thing. The second knockdown, after very close observation, technically was not a knockdown. They collided, feet tangled. I'm sure maybe Mr. Ortiz, being still a bit shaken up and not too steady, went to the ground. But I did not see a clean knockdown. But anyway, Mr. Ruiz had money in the bank from this point. That was a 10-7 round. So he's got a nice little buffer and lead at this point, which is a good investment for later on. And obviously in this fight, that early investment did come to fruit a little bit later in the fight. I thought I'd see Andy Ruiz throw a lot more punches and be a bit more aggressive. But for some reason, he decided to play the counterpuncher role and be patient, waiting for Ortiz to miss so he can capitalize, which he did several times. I did notice that Ortiz, after getting pushed around and knocked down in the early rounds, he made some adjustments. He decided to maintain center ring, use his jab, and keep Ruiz on the outside. And I do believe this tactic worked for him for a short period of time, but he got too complacent with it, stayed in there too long. On the other hand, I thought the same of Ruiz. He tended to stand outside at the end of Ortiz's punches for quite a while, allowing some valuable time and landscape to go by. But seeing that Ruiz had invested a little earlier in the fight, he could probably get away with this a lot better. But anyway, as the fight moved on, Ortiz tried his best, but he just didn't seem to have the it thing. I believe Ruiz tried his best, but I honestly expected a bit more from Andy Ruiz, considering he's the younger fighter and he's trying to get himself in position to fight some topper level heavyweights such as Mr. Wilder. And I do admit that in order for Ruiz to be even half effective against Wilder, he's going to have to tighten up his game a lot. What's going to happen to Mr. Ortiz? Don't know. I'm sure we'll see him again, but I doubt he'll be able to peak and get back to the top of the game. As far as Mr. Ruiz, I think he needs to be more active. No more long gaps in between his fights. This isn't about ring rust, but the inactivity in real intense fights is what he's needed to keep him frosty and ready to go as he attempts to move up the ranks. But I'm going to tell you right now, in order for him to fight Wilder, he's going to have to shore up that defense a little bit. I mean, he was sniped relatively easy by Ortiz a couple times there. And we know Ortiz lacks the power of Wilder. So anyway, that's all I got. It was a good fight. Let's see what happens. If Andy Ruiz wants to stay busy, he can get back in that ring in December just to stay active. He'll be on his route, possibly back to a championship.